What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to our second episode and another weekly installment of South Carolina Gamecocks college football game day. You know, recapping the games of each weekend and previewing what's coming next. This week, not a lot of good things to talk about as far as what's coming next, so let's talk about this game right here. Unfortunately, the Gamecocks fall to the 16th ranked Arkansas Razorbacks. 44-30 is the final score. Arkansas actually almost had a touchdown right there at the very end, but they ended up calling it back. So instead of 50-30, it was 44-30. There's a little bit of confusion around that, but overall, it was an okay game by South Carolina. They really fought hard there at the end of the day, and I mean, there's a lot of negative stuff that we'll get into, but I do just want to get right out there and say, despite losing by 2 touchdowns, this team showed so much more heart than they ever did under Muschamp. If this was a Muschamp game, we're out of this game by the end of the first quarter. Arkansas was running it at will, even to the end of the game when we did better. Arkansas's run game, 6 yards per carry. They were just doing outstanding all day long, and if we were with Muschamp, we wouldn't have had much of a chance. Yeah, Arkansas ended up having about 5 yards per play. I don't know how that exactly correlates to rushing yards, but they did finish with 295 total rushing yards on the day. But still, good, a good try by the Gamecocks offense, and their defense, they gave it their all. We knew Arkansas was going to be a really good running attack or rushing game, and we tried to stop them. There wasn't much we could do. They just ran it straight up the middle. They didn't really give much resistance at the front. You know, the defensive line. He kept cutting it outside, and they've definitely got a solid team there in Arkansas. Now the real question here is, did South Carolina improve that much over just the last week? Or is Arkansas just a little bit worse than we actually intended or anticipated that they were going to be? That's something for another day. But at the end of the day, I'm content with this. And unfortunately, it comes at a really bad time. This schedule is not easy on us. Texas A&M just lost. And I mean just lost at the recording of this video. It would be yesterday, obviously, because this is a Sunday. Just lost to Appalachian State. So, I mean, that's one team that, you know, is ranked, but they did lose a game already. But we've got a lot of ranked matchups on this schedule, and unfortunately, starting 1-1 doesn't seem so bad until you look next week, and we have to take on Georgia. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and talk about some of the good stuff today. So Spencer Rattler on the day, 24 for 39, 376 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He had an okay game. I mean, that 1 interception was pretty costly. He had some fumbles there. He had 1 fumble at the end of the game. He had a couple of times where he got sacked and he probably should have thrown it away. Times, especially late in the game where he got sacked and he fumbled it, there's no time for anything. It's a Hail Mary for a reason. You have to throw it. There's no reason you should not get a Hail Mary in the air. But unfortunately, Rattler just kind of panicked a couple of times today. And one thing I will say about his game is he gets out of the pocket way too much. He's just not as comfortable behind the offensive lineman, and they provided at least some decent protection today as far as the passing game goes. Running game, we'll get into that later on, but they did provide some type of protection as far as the passing game goes. So Rattler, he was really, a couple of those sacks he caused. I think at Arkansas's defense, they got pressure when they needed to, but also, Rattler probably could have prevented some of those, a little bit of that pressure if he didn't run out of the pocket and if he just kind of moved around in the pocket. That interception came about, 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. We're down by 2 touchdowns. Maybe it changes the game. I didn't think it personally was. And I mean, at the end of the day, we only recovered 1 of 3 onside kicks. That's a good number because you rarely recover any of them. And unfortunately, the one we recovered ended up being late in the game before we even had an opportunity to come back. Arkansas just outplayed us in every aspect. Rushing-wise, the Gamecocks finished with 40 yards total rushing. I mean, absolutely atrocious. If you don't count the sack loss of yards from sacking Spencer Rattler, it's 63 yards, which is only a little bit better. You had 79 last week, you had 63 this week, and you go into back to Columbia, thankfully, in Williams-Brice Stadium, but you go to play Georgia next week. You've got to be worried if you're a Gamecock fan, because this rushing attack doesn't seem like it's doing anything. Marshawn Lloyd, 7 for 23 and a touchdown. Juju McDowell, 6 for 35 and a touchdown. He had an okay day. Ended at about 6 yards per carry. Jaheim Bell, 4 for 5. After a terrific week last week, kind of slowed down today. And obviously Spencer Rattler, 12 rushes for negative 23 yards. I don't really count all those against him because in the college realm, sacks count as negative yardage, unfortunately. But like I was saying, the passing game was fairly decent. We knew Arkansas was going to have a less than stellar secondary. Cincinnati made made Arkansas secondary look a little soft last week, and Beamer definitely attacked that. Rattler threw it 40 times. Antoine Wells Jr. had himself a day, 8 receptions for 189 yards, including a long 62-yard touchdown right there. I believe on a 3rd and 17 it was that got us to the, I think it ended up being 21-16 at that point. And he had himself a great day. Juice Wells, definitely, last week he did okay with 7 receptions, but this week he really, really controlled that offense. And I hope that's a sign that he's going to continue to be, acclimated really well. On top of that, Marshawn Lloyd finally getting involved in this offense. 6 for 72. No touchdowns for him on the receiving end, but he did have the one rushing-wise. Austin Stogner got a few catches there, too. 5 for 68. Jalen Brooks, 2 for 29. And Amarion Brown, 1 for 18. Juju McDowell, 2 for negative 1. And Josh Vann, not a single catch today. He wasn't even on the field for most of the game. Just a little worrying about Josh Vann. We haven't seen or heard much from him. Kind of seems like him and Rattler aren't on the same page. Maybe they don't have the best of connection, at least not a connection that Rattler and Wells seem to have, or Rattler and Brooks, those type of guys seem to have. So as much as I love Josh Vann, if he doesn't have that connection with the quarterback, it makes sense that he wouldn't be on the field as much. At the end of the day, Gamecocks fall to 1-1 on the season. 44-30 is the final score. They played well. They fought hard. I was impressed with how well they played. 16th ranked team in the country, a team that, they played a decent Cincinnati team last week and won. We knew they were going to be good at rushing, and they proved us basically completely right that they were going to be good at rushing. Raheem Sanders finished with 156 yards. KJ Jefferson, 67 yards. AJ Green, 43. And Rashad Dubin with 15. They ended up having about, 7 different guys touch the ball on a run play throughout the day, and all of them went for positive plays, including 5 rushing touchdowns and just the one passing touchdown in about the 3rd quarter. Maybe the Gamecocks left some points on the field, an extra point, the fumble missed, the 2-point conversion not converted. Marshawn Lloyd was the person that fumbled early in that 3rd quarter and kind of lost the momentum for us. And it kind of made everything go downhill from there. But they fought really hard, and I'm proud of the way the guys played. Still a loss at the end of the day. I look forward to hearing what Shane Beamer has, but this team is light years ahead of what we had last year. You can just tell from the way they play. 30 points. That I would have died for 30 points in a game last year. If we get 30 points against Kentucky last year, if we're even able to throw for 200 yards against Kentucky last year, we win that game. And if we keep it on like this, I think it's a lock-in for a bowl game. Despite having a very difficult record, we do have to beat at least 2 ranked teams right now to make a bowl game. So it's going to be interesting to see. But now, let's talk about next week. Georgia is obviously very, very, very good. Coming into this game, don't expect anything amazing. I'm very, very excited to see what this team can do. The 2nd-ranked Bulldogs, who very likely could be 1st-ranked after Alabama struggled against Texas. We'll have to see, going into the next week. But the Bulldogs have an outstanding roster. They look like they could be better than last year. South Carolina hasn't beat them since that upset in 2020, which was, at the time, a very shocking game. I just don't know if we go in and we beat them. It's going to be really hard to do anything against that defense, but I think this offense has talent. They have, potential to continue to go up from here. We're in Williams-Brice. We're in Columbia. We've got the home field advantage. It's a 12 o'clock prime time SEC in the morning game. I'm excited for it. If I had to predict it, I'm going with Georgia. Probably 38 to about 13. I don't think this is going to be a necessarily close game, but it's going to be a little better than last year. I think the defense needs to really step up. And if I'm a Gamecock fan, if I'm a head coach or the assistant coaches at Carolina, offensive line looked okay this week. Rushing game still needs a lot of work. That defensive line is going to get obliterated next week if we do not work on it before we go to Georgia, or we go to play Georgia at Williams-Brice next week. But anyways, guys, if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button and subscribe. Make sure you turn on post notifications so you get these videos. I plan to post one every Sunday after we play a game. You know, the bye week will be a skip there. But if you guys enjoy these videos and this series, turn on post notifications so you get a notification every time I post a video. Again, thank you guys for watching. Comment down below your predictions for next week against Georgia, and also how you're feeling about this week's game. I know it's a loss, but it's still got a lot of moral victories in there and a lot of positives, in my opinion, that we can hang on to. As always, thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.